I always hear the YouTubers out there going, "Oh, manga's just destroying Marvel and DC Comics, and that's the future." It's actually not true. Manga's kind of the past with Marvel and DC Comics. I love manga. Don't get me wrong. That's not the takeaway here. But what's destroying Marvel and DC Comics, and what's destroying manga as well in terms of American book sales, are these YA graphic novels. This is where it's been at, and it's been this way for a couple of years. I hate to break it to you, but Dogman reigns supreme, and there's some others out there that are kind of surprising as well, and we're going to get into this in just a moment. Please hit the like and subscribe button as we talk about all things in the comic book industry. Of course, the sales are very interesting and hard to track at this point, but we do our best to try to find what's going on in the business and bring that information to you. I'm an independent creator, and independent books have been doing very, very well on Kickstarter and the like. Of course, we are blacklisted from the mainstream industry just from calling things out like we do on the channel here. But we write beautiful books, and so we have wonderful stuff for you guys. Check it out. My newsletter's in the description below. There's a $50 value just for signing up. You get Flying Sparks Volume 1, a full graphic novel. This starts my superhero universe. If you want a difference from Marvel and DC, it's a great place to start. There's a 5-volume series that's on my web store. If you already are on here and have this and want the follow-ups where this builds up into an epic story through Volume 5, you're going to love it. You can get that on the web store. I also give away a full science fiction novel and a full fantasy novel. So not only do I do comics, but I do books as well. And we've got a lot coming out this year. I don't want you to miss any of it because our best work is happening right now. I'm so thrilled with what's coming down the pipeline. I wish I could spend all the time showing it to you guys, but we can do that through the newsletter. So be on here, my friends. It's in the description below, along with other ways to support the channel. Thank you for being here. All right. This is interesting. When readers think mainstream comics, they usually consider Marvel and DC Comics superheroes, and a lot of those who criticize the American superhero industry claim manga is reigning supreme in sales. But it turns out both are wrong. According to new reports from Bookstand detailing graphic novels that sold over 100,000 units in 2024, YA novels are, in fact, all that's selling. And this is pretty interesting stuff right here. Every year, numbers get released for best-selling graphic novels, and each year it's been apparent that the tastes are changing from the manga boom of the 2010s to something different, especially when it comes to bookstore graphic novels. Marvel and DC, if you don't know, they stopped reporting their sales data to comic shops in the pandemic. We used to get all their sales data. We'd know exactly what was going on through Diamond Distribution. It would all get reported through this website where you could actually read all the top books of the month and know exactly what was going on. Now, ICV2 actually still reports top books of the month, but they have a network of 125 comic book stores that they get a sample size of data. Now, there's really only about 500 stores that really sell comic books as a main business, so that's a pretty good sample size as things go. You can kind of know what's mostly up there, and it's the number 1 and the number through 10 is probably pretty accurate, and it probably gets less accurate as it goes down the scale. But we don't have the direct numbers anymore. And they did this intentionally because Marvel and DC saw a giant drop-off with the pandemic, of course, and things were already going bad by that point for the comic book industry because of all the sweeping changes they've been doing. They seem to not be able to get very good writers. There's a talent lack that's happening in the comic book industry, and that's for one big reason, because they don't pay very well. And, of course, they'll just replace you, and writers know that they'll just replace you with somebody else if you demand more. And so what happens is a lot of these writers, even if they're big names who you kind of know, will phone in their Marvel and DC work because it's not like they're going to create new characters or do anything like that for Marvel and do something cool because they're never going to get paid on the back end for it. If they do it in their own graphic novels and their own things, maybe they'll get a movie deal or something like that. They're way more incentivized to do things in the indie level, which really don't sell at least on the comic book level too. On that. And so they were really raking it in, trying to get streaming deals for their different comic series because there's been so many over the last few years. And it's just been a train wreck for the comic book industry because of that. Now, on top of it, since all the people with actual talent are kind of doing their own thing or going like Mark Miller went to Millar World and Netflix, where they own all of his stuff and develop all of his stuff into books and movies or into streaming shows and movies too. You look and see the talent that's left. A lot of political activists got into the industry to destroy the industry as well. And we've seen that there's been a death by 1,000 paper cuts as this has happened. We have bad talent. We have people pushing political activism and then cutting off half of the audience because they want to just like try to lecture people in their comic books. On top of this, you have these people who fight with fans on social media and just like are total train wrecks on that level and turn off even more fans. Then you have delays from shipping. You have problems with getting the art done, and like you get all this stuff that just hits over and over again. Most recent was the Diamond Distribution bankruptcy, which had covered this week, there's some big stories, guys. Go check those out. But Boom Studios is in trouble. IDW Studios is in trouble. Of course, Valiant Comics is also in trouble. All these smaller comic companies are not being able to weather this storm because they lost hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars from Diamond, who's just not going to pay them back for their sales. They just get absolutely screwed. So what do they do at that point? They're stuck. Now, manga is a different thing. Manga has been coming out from Japan. They keep putting them out. They come into bookstores. They sell okay. Things are doing well. There's a few great sellers, of course, but none of them broke 100,000 units in 2024 either, which means there was no big, great manga seller that's usurping this thing as much as that you hear this a lot on YouTube. Manga is winning. It's really not. There's not that much manga that's really going out there and just like destroying Marvel and DC Comics. It's something else entirely. The market out there has shifted in a big way, and there's one publisher that's really dominating everything. It's called Scholastic. Now, Scholastic is known for like their little mailers that they give out for classrooms and the like, where parents ordered books through them, through catalogs, through the school for kids to read. And because of that, Scholastic built up this niche audience over the years. Now, Marvel tried to get in on this in the late 90s. If you looked at what they did with Spider-Girl and those universes, they actually put that out in digest format, and the digest actually outsold the mainstream single-issue comics by a lot. They were huge bestsellers. The Spider-Girl books, even though you don't hear a lot about them these days, were some of the best-selling books in all of comics back then, all because they went through those catalogs through Marvel and DC doing this sort of digest version that was out there. And these books are doing the same now, and these books are what's destroying everything. So if you look at this, Dogman, the Scarlet Shredder, sold 1 million+ copies. Wow. Dogman, Big Jim Begins, sold 600,000 copies. Now, this is a different one, Amulet. This is another YA series that was very popular a couple years back. Still, its #1 book is still going out there with 126,000 copies. Look at this one. The Babysitter's Club is a big one, 125,000 copies. Wouldn't have expected that up there whatsoever. But it's all Scholastic, right? They did some books for boys here. They did some books for boys here, and then they did a book for girls, and you could do both. That's fine, and it works, and this is absolutely true that it works, and this is why they're crushing it. You got Wings of Fire, Escaping Peril. There's another one from Scholastic, another fantasy sort of story that's in graphic novel format. Another Babysitter's Club right here, over 100,000 sales. Dogman right here. Cat Kid. Of course, Cat Kid comes off of Dogman, back to 200,000 copies for this. The Dogman books are all just crushing everything else out there, and that's why they're making a movie of this year. More Wings of Fire. This is a second one. This one caught my attention. Five Nights at Freddy is still Scholastic, incidentally. Now, Five Nights at Freddy's as a video game is a little racy, I think, for kids. So that's like the 14-year-old demographic. They call it 14 years and up on the video game. And of course, what's interesting is because of YouTube and because of different streamers and the like, Five Nights at Freddy's has done very, very well as a franchise, even among younger kids who probably shouldn't be checking that sort of stuff out. They probably, it's a little much for them. But you can see that they capitalized on that right here through Scholastic by licensing it on the graphic novel format, doing the exact same thing, and then marketing it as a YA product as well. So these YA products are exactly what's winning all the way around. Now, this is pretty interesting because we just saw that Drunk 3PO, Jay, released through Riposend a new book called The Achromatic Chronicles, which made over $100,000, and it's also marketed as this YA type of story right here. And it did very, very well. I had my son read it. He absolutely loved it, and very, very weird. We were talking about it. Your boy Zach was trashing it, saying that conservatives have baby brains or whatever. Well, I mean, is this baby brain, your boy Zach? This is pretty crazy right here. You see these sales are just trouncing everything else. There's no Marvel and DC on the list. There's no manga on the list. This is all the YA demographic, and it's winning because that's what gets the sales, the kids. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. Please check out my newsletter. Sign up, guys. We have a bunch of beautiful stuff. A lot of my books are available and good for all ages, my friends, and you're going to love them. They're in the description below. Thank you so much for supporting us. We'll be back soon.